Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Annalea Arnold, Executive Director of Alliance of Women Directors. It's truly an honor to have so many iconic and incredibly talented women with us today to celebrate Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month. We know the numbers aren't where they should be to be fully representational of the range of stories and storytellers in the Latinidad working in front of and behind the camera. As we continue to work towards that inclusive representation that we know is possible, we wanted to take a moment for un brindis, for a toast, to the phenomenal work our guests have created up until now and will continue to create, we hope, for many years to come. So it is my pleasure to introduce our host for today's celebration. Whether you've seen her perform one of her signature comedy sets or as part of Netflix's Tiffany Haddish Presents They Ready, you won't want to miss her own special, Fighting Words, that starts streaming on HBO Max on November 4th. There's no one better to serve as our mistress of ceremonies for tonight's AWD virtual gathering. So please help me welcome to the spotlight, Aida Rodriguez. Buenas, Aida. Oh, Aida, you're on mute.
Of course, we can't kick it off without an Aida moment. So thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here. This is a much needed conversation as we discuss representation when it comes to the Latinx Hispanic spectrum. It is important that that spectrum is fully represented in front of the camera and behind. So I'm honored to be here. Allow me to introduce your dynamic guest for this conversation. I'm humbled and honored to be amongst these women, and let's get it cracking. The first person coming up to the stage, this is the comedian in me, this is how we do our introductions, is Aurora Guerrero. Aurora was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area by Mexican immigrant parents. She directed her first episode of television on Ava DuVernay's critically acclaimed drama, Queen Sugar. She has gone on to direct Greenleaf, The Red Line, Gentefied, Little America, 13 Reasons Why, Cherish the Day, and the upcoming Blind Spotting and Mr. Corman. Next up is Gloria Calderon Kellett. Gloria Calderon Kellett is the proud daughter of Cuban immigrants. She is the executive producer, co-creator, co-showrunner, director, and actress on the critically acclaimed sitcom One Day at a Time. One time for Justina, that's my girl. Her new Amazon original series, With Love, is the first out of her overall deal with Amazon Studios and centers on the Diaz siblings who are on a mission to find love and purpose. All 5 episodes will premiere December 17th on Amazon Video. Make sure you lock that date in. Rachel Ramis is next coming to the stage. Born to a Puerto Rican mother and Jewish father, Rachel Ramis is a proud New Yorker. She is formerly tenured college professor turned television director, tapped by Ava DuVernay to direct Queen Sugar. Big shout out to Ava DuVernay. She has recently directed episodes of The Big Leap, Wu-Tang, An American Saga, Fantasy Island, Rosalind Sanchez, Sex Lives of College Girls, Diary of a Future President, and The Republic of Sarah, Nancy Drew, and Roswell, New Mexico for the CW. And last but certainly not least, Patricia Riggin, born in Mexico. Patricia Riggin's what is going on with me? But Patricia Riggin's first full-length feature, Under the Same Moon, premiered at the 2007 Sundance Film Festival. From 2016 to 2021, she was the only female Latinx director to have a movie in the top 100 in the box office. Her films include Miracles from Heaven, The 33, and Girl in Progress. For television, Riggin recently directed the Hulu series Dopesick, created by Danny Strong, starring Michael Keaton and based on Beth Macy's best-selling book, which will premiere on October 13th. I hope you lock these dates in because we need to show up. Good afternoon, ladies.
Hello.
And since we said this about everybody, since I said that about everybody's intro, I am the proud daughter of a Puerto Rican mother, a Dominican father, and a Cuban stepfather, and they're all in here. So You're going to hear everything from Nana to Chica and everything in between. Welcome. Let's get started. We got 44 minutes, and I want to make sure that we get this stuff out here because these are gems, and the people who are watching and are listening want to know. So as you wear your multiple hats from producing to writing to directing, what is it that you love the most about the director's chair above all other roles? I'll start with you, Aurora.
Oh, okay. First of all, I just wanted to note that I was really happy to hear how everybody started their bios with proud child of immigrant parents. That was really beautiful. Why I love directing. I don't know that I love it above all else, but it is really special to me because I feel like I'm at the center of something that's hard to really put into words. It's a magical place, really. It's a place where everything happens. You get to put life into something that starts on the page, and you get to do it with a group of people that hopefully are equally as awesome as you are, and you get to see that grow into something that you might think is supposed to be a certain way, but turns out to be something better. And that process, like I said, it's something that it's I don't know, it's a spiritual experience, to be honest with you, because you just never know really what is going to come out of that experience, but it's always really beautiful for me. I learn so much when I'm in the director's chair working with folks. So I think that for those reasons, I love it. It's unexpected. It's unpredictable. And it's powerful.
Sorry, it is powerful.
Okay.
There was a little bit of delay, so I'm not trying to cut you off. I just want you to be mindful that there is a little bit of a delay. Gloria, you are an actor. You're also a writer and director. So I want you to share your experience and how you feel about directing, versus everything else, because it's all a part of who you are as a performer, as an artist.
I think it varies from, like, directing my own stuff. I don't have to have a conversation with myself to figure out what I want. So that's nice. I think when I'm going into somebody else's house, that's more when it's, okay, how do I communicate with you to make sure that I'm giving you what you pictured in your head, or if I have something different that I want to add, how can we collaborate to make this another thing? It's that magic that Aurora was talking about, that's when it's really exciting. I also think that I love communicating with the actors, technically on a set. It's different with comedy and with multicam. With multicam, I've found that they come to the writers a lot because we're pitching alternate jokes, and whereas on single cam and drama sets, we're not even really supposed to talk to the actors as writers, right? The director is supposed to do that. That DGA rep will be like, hey.
The whip.
So I think I love being able to communicate with the actors and talk to them about character and about, where the scene can go, what the scene is really about, what is being said and unsaid, how are we going to use this visual medium to tell this story, like all of that stuff. Being in collaboration with everybody, I think, is what's really, really exciting. But it's like, I think also the multi and the single of it all. Multicam is sort of like a play, really. It's You're really bound by that proscenium, and you're really bound. Like, we don't really talk about lensing even on multicam. You're in a wide, you're in a, you got 4 cameras going at the same time, and, A and X are getting your crosses, and B and C are sort of like your 35, you're like 35 millimeter. It's like your wide shot, right? And you're very rare. And then because everything is shot digitally, we do so much. We can do zooms. We can do everything now in editing. So I think it's the the collaboration and the communication with the actors is what I like about the directing.
Lovely. Rachel?
Yeah. I'm so inspired right now. I got to show you something that's on my wall. I've got the pilot script.
Oh my God.
That's fine. So in my professor life, before Ava called me to change my whole life to direct Queen Sugar, I used to bring my students to LA, and we were there at the taping of the pilot and many, many episodes. And so, you know, number one inspiration. And the fact to be in the room with y'all is beautiful and inspiring. And I feel blessed to be here. For me, it's really, you know, everything y'all said, but also so much is about energy. And I come from hip hop. I call it my hashtag rap life. I lived a whole life before I was a boring ass professor, and I wasn't that boring. I think that's like your energy, like what you bring, who you are, everything you've been through, and what you bring to the work. So I feel like it's the energy, and collaboration. You know, I think the role of the director is really keeper of the story. And I work as a TV director, so it's like somebody's entrusting me with their story, right? And what do I do with it? And then you get to collaborate with so many dope people to make that vision happen. And, you know, I come from a school where it's not just my idea is the idea. It's like best idea wins. Let's build, let's fight for what are we doing, how, what, whether it's the actors, the DP, you know, the PD, the showrunner, you know, all of it is fair game. And we get to kind of build in the cipher and bring all that we are. And then ultimately I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Come over here. Let's go. You know, this, that, and the other. But I just love that. I love the energy. I love, you know, the pace of it and the fact that we get to play with stories like for a living. How amazing is that, to tell our stories?
I love it.
Okay.
Hi, Patricia. Patricia is joining us right on time because it's her turn to answer the question. Like perfect timing. So welcome. Thank you for being here. The question that we're asking right now is, as you wear your multiple hats from producing to writing to directing, what is it that you most love about the director's chair above all the other roles that you play?
Oh my God, that's a hard question. I guess what I call the director is like the storyteller. So you really are the one that sets the tone and everything. So you write something and it's phenomenal because writing is like the beginning of everything. But the director can make it the same text into a horror movie or into a comedy or into a romance, you know. So that's what the director does. And that's why I love being the director, because I think ultimately it, you know, just lets me tell the story exactly like I want to tell it.
Beautiful. Gloria, if you were to use a camera angle to describe 2021, what would that be?
Like 180, man. I'd be like, it's so up in, I feel like this year has been up in all of our grills and has tested so much of our own like resilience. And also we've been so forced to look at our faces. Very confronting. Very confronting when I mean, I like to be in front of the camera like a Sousson, like a little bit, but mostly I like to be behind the camera. So Zoom and all this stuff, you're looking at your face all day and you're like, oh my God. Right up in there.
That is so funny. Aurora, if you had to describe 2021 in a camera shot or angle, what would it be?
Yeah. I think my angle would be an extreme wide close up of my face, just like with my eyes like this, paranoid, anxiety to the 200th degree. It's been like that. It's just so many curveballs, so many unexpected things, and so I just feel like I've been on edge this whole time. And the rest of the world, really. So I feel like that camera angle best describes 2021 for me.
So, Patricia, how about you?
I don't have an answer for that, but I'd rather say hi to everyone because I just came in. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I was like 15 minutes trying to get in. And that's what I feel about this time of the world, you know, where we're like trying to get into all these different systems to see each other in video. And I like people. I'm a Latina. I like holding people, touching and seeing them in person. So you know, it's good, and I'm happy that we're making the best of this time and staying alive and connected. But I do want like to go back to the human, personal contact. Anyway, good. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So Rachel, since you're my resident MC, I saved you for last because I want you to close out the cipher with bars.
Yes. All right. So I call this time the time of the upside down. So I'd start in a big wide shot from a bird's eye view on a techno crane. Really, because like only God, goddess, whatever you believe in, the gods know what we were in for. Like I had no idea on that Doom Friday the 13th when I like Nancy Drew, they were like, we're shut down, like pick up the chest, we're going home. I was like, what? And we're all hugging, and they're like, no hugging. I was like, what kind of world? So we'd be coming down in God's point of view, the camera will come behind us and then swoop right under us. And it turns out we really in this like trapped in a glass cage, because most of us ended up trapped, and then everybody looking at us in Zoom. And so like I always have lipstick because then everybody's looking at us in Zoom. So I have my lipstick there in the glass cage as we're coming up. And once it like hits our face in the tight Zoom shot, then it will rotate and get real foggy, because any lights in a mask, my glasses fog up and you don't really know what it is. And also I think foggy because people have gotten mad confused. Like people who I thought were like good, smart people, like wear a mask, get your vaccine, all the things so we can continue safe. It was like upside down. I think in many ways we're still living in the upside down. So I would, because I direct TV and we get some big toys, it would be techno crane, you know, rotating glass box, all kind of things.
Poetic. So two of you have worked on Queen Sugar as one of your first directing gigs. We all know that Ava DuVernay has opened up things, you know, on set, made hiring women directors a priority and popular on many of her shows. My friend Carmen Marron as well is one of the directors that she made a way for. With these past Emmys, women won both for comedy for Hacks and drama for The Crown. The industry is watching carefully. What are you most excited about and looking forward towards 2022? I'm going to start with Patricia, and then
You know what? I think that the pandemic has distracted us from the movement that we started before the pandemic. So what I'm looking forward is to, you know, I know we have big problems in the world, but as soon as this is over, we really need to keep the eye on the ball. We need to keep the finger in the wound. We need to keep pushing, because we are just beginning to have an opportunity. And the misogyny and the discrimination against people of color, and particularly women, is rampant, and it's there. It's very difficult sometimes to detect it because they're very, you know, nobody's going to say it out loud. But, you know, it's very important that we all keep putting the pressure and opening the spaces in all realms of society, particularly in our business, because that's where we are, so that we make this conversation be very important and not let them, you know, forget it. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Gloria, you're nodding your head yes.
Yeah. Well, I feel that so much, because I think that we are, in fact, a lot of the circles that I'm talking to, especially women of color that are directing, and writers of color, is that there was sort of this faux white awakening of June of last year, where people were like, we read the book, we put the black square on Instagram, we get it. And the fallout of that is that people are using the words DEI a lot more, but I'm not seeing that reflected on the screen. I'm not really seeing that reflected on the screen the way that we still need it to be reflected on the screen. So that concerns me, because it makes it seem as though things are getting better, and I think they are worse than prior to the pandemic. We know the numbers of on-screen representation. I don't know what the numbers are right now in terms of directors, but I know for writers and showrunners, and 900 deals, 1% of those are Latino. So like, we're a fifth of the country. And we are, and I think that's underreported, because I think oftentimes we're not reporting our indigenous and our Afro-Latino brothers and sisters as part of that, what falls under that. And so we are a lot of this country, and we are just not reflected in that way. So it causes me great concern, and it's something that I want to talk about a lot, because I'm in a lot of spaces where people are like, oh my God, it must be great to be a woman of color right now. And I'm like, yeah, it's good for me, but I'm the only one in this room, y'all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for I too am, I want this to end because I just want to hug people. But I also really want to be having these real conversations and confront people. The beauty is we have data that we can point to and say, but I think the amount of loss, even for me, like we usually do have shadows on sets, right? Now during COVID, no shadows. So many shadow opportunities, so many opportunities for people to be in these spaces and learning that were lost in the last 2 years because of this pandemic. So I want us to make sure that we're staying vigilant.
Rachel?
Yeah, looking forward to 2022 in the future. You know, we need an awakening. We need to continue to open up people's consciousness and their critical lenses and all of that, and really a radical reckoning of industry. It is time for equity. I stand with all of our Ayati brothers and sisters and folks. We need, fair sets, good sleep, ability to use the restroom on sets, all the things. I think that is critically important. And I really want more of all of y'all directing. Like, I've been a professor for 20 plus years and mentoring directors who work in a lot of different spaces. And my first student, who's just now out in the world growing and building, Sierra Shooter, she just wrapped on her 7th episode, and she also got her first start on Queen Sugar. So that's kind of amazing. And my second student just got staffed in a writer's room on a show this week. I want more of that. I want more of us. I want more of our stories. And there's my son, Joe. Hey, Joe.
What's up, Joe?
Everybody says what's up.
Doing a cameo.
He wanted to come say hi, especially to you, Gloria. He was there for this, and so it's like his show, and so he's very excited that we were here together. Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, one of my comedy brothers asked me also to say hello to you, Gloria. Orlando Leyva, who is a very funny Dominican, who's actually has a special on HBO Max called Adorable, said, can you please say hello to her? I'm a big fan of her work.
Oh my God, I gotta check out the comedy special. That's awesome.
Yes. Aurora, same
Yeah.
question. And I would love to hear how you feel about.
Yeah, I mean, I feel blessed that I came into the television industry via Ava DuVernay's camp and her vision. It's powerful, it's important, and I've, not just my own career within the television world and seeing it blossom, but also people like Rachel and so many more of us who have gone through Ava's camp that have been able to continue to direct. And so what I am excited about is seeing all these women who have gone through this camp, the Ava camp, start to create their own shows and become these showrunners with a similar vision, so we can multiply in terms of opportunities. But I think that step of becoming creators and showrunners is a big one, right? Like, how can we be in these positions that Ava and Gloria are in, and Patricia? And I think that is work that needs to be done internally in the industry, where they can see us beyond just directing for white people, but that we are our own storytellers, that we have many stories to tell, and that they need to open up those doors and allow us to be in those positions of power where we own our stories from the very top. And so I think that's something that needs to happen, and I'm excited about that possibility, because that's just going to open the doors wide open for many more to come through. So I want to see us multiply more and more and more and more and more.
Yes, as the comments are saying, these questions were actually prepared by some careful minds who know you all well. But I do want to point out that I think that Gloria hit on it earlier. It's very important for us to really take note of the void and those people who are watching, to understand that even as we look at this panel itself, we are, there is a lack of representation behind the camera and behind the scenes when it comes to, Blackness, Indigenous people. There are Asian, Latinos, Latinx people that we also, forget and erase sometimes. And when there's a void in that, then there's a void in representation in front of the camera. When you think about Mexico all by itself, it's such a diverse place within its own country, and every single place that we come from. I wanted to ask every single one of you, what is a pathway to solution? What is the first step or a step that we can take to create equity in those spaces with regards to that true inclusion and representation of our full spectrum? I'm gonna start with Rachel, because Rachel looks like she's about to wrap. And I want to hear what she has to say, and I want to follow up with Patricia, who also, I could tell, felt that question. So I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's in whatever position you're in, be the solution in that space and in that arena. So as a professor, it was about exposing my students to industry, really connecting them, and using examples in my classes from shows that show us, from films that show us, from, I've been showing Mosquera y Mari Aurora's film to my race and representation class forever. As soon as the film hit, I've been using that film. So it's like, who becomes the experts in our classes on the professor level? I think in our work, what we choose, the stories we choose to tell, what are the kinds of shows, like I want, smart, strong, flawed characters, but whenever they say, oh, Rachel, what shows do you want to direct? I'm like, good stories, good people, because the old toxic Hollywood, I'm not going for it. I don't want to be in those sets. I want to be on the shows where really I get to collaborate and I'm respected and I, all those things. So in my own work, I don't go for, when I read a script and I'm like, wait, hold up. And then they ask me, why don't you want to do our show? Why is it a pass? I'm like, because this stereotype, this thing, this. And unfortunately, sometimes it's, by creators of color who are not understanding the specificity. So then what I do is I send them a link to the right inclusion page of like representation. And I'm like, let's spread knowledge. Just because you understand your lane doesn't mean you understand everybody and, the representation of all of us. And then, for me, it's also about, I'm not in a position to hire anyone. I'm not a showrunner. I'm not a PD yet. But what can I do? So what did I do during the pandemic? I started actually during an AWDT, Mary Lou Belli called on me and made me block live, and I was in my pajamas, which was hilarious. And everyone started texting me, Rachel, how'd you block out so fast? What software are you using? What are you doing? And from that sparked something I've done for the last year, which I started a crew of women. I called it Saturday Sessions because I would teach blocking, directing action, how to use scriptation, how to use different apps to hundreds of women. I just donated hundreds of hours. So, did that change and transform people? Yes, lots of people made short films or got scripts selected here or there or got fellowships and scholarships and all kinds of things. And so, the change is hard and slow, but like, what are you able to do from the position that you're in? And for me, it's about, lifting us all up and giving what I can at the level that I'm at.
Wow. Rachel, that's amazing. Congratulations for doing that. That's really wonderful. I think the solutions, I can think of we need to try to create the change everywhere. For instance, from something really small, like, I made a movie a few years ago called Miracles from Heaven. And I realized that the doctor that had saved the little white girl was a Mexican doctor. So for me, it became super important to make sure that that doctor stayed Mexican and that he was called Mexican and that everyone knew that he was a Mexican, because I was thinking, look at the opportunity we have to reverse the stereotype of what a Mexican is in this country, right? It saved the little white girl, you know, in this big studio movie. So I cast a Mexican actor, Eugenio Derbez. And when the moment came to say that he was Mexican, the studio did not want me to call him Mexican in the show, in the movie. They even thought that saying Mexican is an insult. And so I had to go through a lot of hurdles to be able to say he is a Mexican doctor, you know, in the dialogue, so that the audience would know this was a Mexican doctor that was the number one specialist in the country. So that was like a little thing that I thought was very important for us, you know, because we need to cease being the invisible minority in our country. We don't exist, and that is the truth. So it's teaching, it's giving opportunities, and it's changing the stereotypes and just contributing in any possible way that we can. And we have to demand, you know, we have to keep, that's why I'm saying, like, we, you know, I always say, like, la trenza, you know, we Mexicans, we have our trencita and we're so shy and, you know, we don't deserve anything, you know. No, we have to be more like Americans, like white Americans. We need to demand and we need to think and believe that we deserve and our rightful place, you know, in films and in TV and in the society. So I want that self-confidence for all my paisanos in the country.
I agree. I'll go after that. That was fabulous. Grateful that I'm in the space where I can hire. So, you know, when people are like, how did you get your first directing job? Nobody wanted to hire me, so I hired me. I gave myself my first directing job. I had to freaking work for 15 years in television as a TV writer and get my own show. And even season 1, they wouldn't give it to me. So it was season 2. So then that, you know, and I remember it was pulling teeth. And Pam Fryman, who is a incredible, one of the biggest multicam directors after Jimmy Burrows, had to still go to the studio and say, hey, if you want, I'll go every day that Gloria is directing. And that's what ultimately made them say yes. And then she didn't come. And then it was great. And then they ended up wanting me to go and work on 2 of their other shows after I did. It's like, we just need the opportunity, right? We just need the opportunity. As a showrunner, it was great to have, my new show is all directed by women of color, all of them. 3 of them are Latina. 1 is you know, like, so we have, you know, it was amazing. It was amazing to have, you know, all of that perspective on the show and have these incredible, and my DP was a woman. And there was a moment, actually, Pepe Serna, the great Pepe Serna, who's been around forever. There was a scene we were shooting with Pepe and we were like talking about the scene and Pepe was like, wait, we have to stop. We have to stop. Gloria, you are the showrunner. Mira is the director. Sandra is the DP. We have Kristen is our scripty. Like, I've never been in a room where all of the people on that side were women. And it was like, I'm so happy because we're so in it that I'm so happy that he like had to be the grandpa in the moment and be like, oh yeah, take a minute. Like, this is a big deal. Let's just sit in the yumminess of like that. And so I love it. And I love that we were able to turn something in where people are like, oh my God, it's so great. And it's all like, we just have to show them it works, right? We have to show them consistently that it works. But my thing is, how do I get the other people to care? Because we all obviously care, right? How do we get those other people to care? That's what I'm trying to wrangle with. That's what I want to sit down with other showrunners. That's why I talk on panels, because us talking about it and us putting the word out that this works and it works great, I think is really vital so that people know that, because we got to take the stink off of, oh, I guess we need a woman. Oh, I guess we need a person of color in here. Still talk about it as though it's homework, as opposed to value add, which it very much is. It is value add. We make it better. We come on these sets and it's mom energy, man. It's female pussy energy. And it's amazing. You know, it's in a way that is loving. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's a different vibe around here with all these women. It's a different energy here. And we're all here to have a good time and are so, all of us have had to freaking really fight to get there. So now that we're here, we're like, damn it, it's going to be beautiful. Let's make it beautiful. And it's just a different thing. It's so value added. So turning the story on, this isn't homework, y'all. It's good for you. And you should do it more.
Aurora.
Yeah, and that's all. Everything y'all are saying is so important and true. And I hope people are listening, people that need to be hearing this. Yeah, I mean, there's the solution. There's so many different ways to have agency and to try to create change. For myself, it's always been being conscious that a movement is very powerful, that I'm not in this by myself, that my success is your success and your success is mine. And I live by that. That's like my philosophy. And I think it's other people's, like what Gloria is talking about, and Ava, there's this consciousness and intentionality to, bring people along with you, to create this movement and this wave. And so I think that consciousness is so important, and it hasn't always been there generations before us. And I think that is what's helping create change. And so myself, like I'm clawing my way, digging my way, hammering my way through the television world as well as outside of it to be able to, create opportunities for myself and then for others. And in the meantime, what I do is that I make myself accessible as much as possible to folks that are trying to get their foot in the industry as much as possible, that are around my age and younger, especially the young people. I love me some young people. So I'm constantly mentoring, offering practical advice, whatever nuggets of knowledge that I have, passing it on, giving feedback on work, really pushing young artists to be their best, to really think outside of the box and embrace their originality, not to be afraid to be original, to honor their originality. Like, those are all the things that I think are exciting and that we need as storytellers within our community. So those are, I'm always trying to bring that energy as much as possible, and hoping that once I am in these positions where I can hire like Gloria and Ava, that I'm going to be, creating a space for other people to be able to get their foot in the door, and then beyond that, right, to be able to create and tell their stories. So again, like really trying to nurture and foster a movement, because that's what we need, is a movement led by us, the queer, the Black, the brown, the female, us. Not just one, because this industry thinks that, we got these 3 or 4, y con eso. No. Oh yeah, or one. It's been one. Yes. And that is very dangerous, and that is so incorrect, because as we know, there are hundreds of thousands of stories that we got within our community, because we are such a huge dynamic community. And I can't wait for us to get to that place where we can experience all these stories and to be able to tell them in different ways, exciting ways. Like, that's what I want. That's what gets me all giddy. So I think that everything we're saying, everything we're doing together is going to create the change that we want.
I love it. And you know what? I think just to echo what you all said, I think also it's very important for us to really focus on solidarity, because at times when we get broken up into that, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Dominican, I'm Mexican, we have to show up for each other, because solidarity is really the way through. When we really show up for each other, we really show our power, and that creates fear amongst the people who want to erase us. Since you all have worked in so many different formats and mediums, we have to ask Gloria, film, video, or digital?
I've only ever shot multi. So I'm only, like they used to, Ricky and Lucy, they used to shoot on film. They shot I Love Lucy on film. So I've only ever shot digital, that's all I've done. So I love it. And I mean, the new cameras are unbelievable. With Love, the new show we just shot on Venice, and it was stunning, like what we could do on that with that camera. So that's all I know. I know I'm sure if I had shot on film, I would have loved film, but I've never shot on film.
I started in film, Gloria. Can you believe it? I started like 16 and 35. I actually shot a couple of movies in 35.
That's awesome.
Wow.
What I think is, it doesn't matter in any of the formats, as long as we get to tell our stories, as long as we get to show women and people of color in our stories. That's all that matters. If it's like napkins, let's do it in napkins. It doesn't matter, as long as we keep telling our stories, which are so important to tell.
Aurora, Rachel, you know what? Drink your water, Aurora.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, they want to know. Film, video, or digital.
You want to go, Rachel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I went to film school. I went to UCLA, and I started on film. So I was shooting, and actually, strike that. Even before that, the first film I ever made, a documentary, it was on a big VHS camera. And I had the town I grew up in New York, in such an uproar. I got on the cover of the Village Voice and on 60 Minutes from something on a big VHS camera that my dad bought at JCPenney's for Christmas. So like, you can move mountains with a powerful story on any format. Then I was shot on Super 8. I shot on 8mm. I shot on 16mm. I made a lot of short films on 16. I was the fastest who could load the mag. I was loading and acing on shoots. And then I got to shoot a little bit of 35, but short ends, because it was whatever Kodak had left over, they would sell you or give you, and then it'd all be okay, you got $20, you got $20 to pay to develop and print and telecine and all that. So that was very expensive. And then digital, I was able to do a lot of things, from rap videos to shooting concerts to all kinds of things on digital. And now in TV, it's mostly Area Alexas and Sony Venice, so shooting digital, and it's gorgeous and it's beautiful. So to co-sign whatever you have to tell the story, if it's an iPhone or a DSLR or whatever you have, the story is much more important than the container of the story. Just tell your story. That's what it's about.
Aurora.
Yeah, I mean, I echo what they're saying about that for sure. When I was in film school, the digital video stuff looked horrible. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was a big film snob, wanted to shoot my feature on film. I love the texture of it. I still do. But the technology is so advanced now than what it was when I was in film school, that you can really achieve a look that feels like you're shooting on film. It's so cinematic nowadays that I really can't. I mean, you can get down to the nitty gritty of the technical between the two, but ultimately, I think it's just whatever format services the story, whatever camera helps facilitate that story. There's some cameras that are smaller than others. If you're trying to do a lot of handheld, intimate stuff, then it might be dictated by that. But yeah, so it really depends on the film. It depends on the story, the script. But film is kind of cool.
Like it.
I like it.
I like it too. So I'm going to ask each of you 3 questions, and it's kind of like a rapid fire session because we want to get these answers out. This is a director's panel. I'm going to go in alphabetical order. It makes life a whole lot easier for me. The favorite shot you shot, Aurora?
And it has to be fast. I think the fastest one I can explain is a shot that I did on Queen Sugar, where it was a super high angle shot through a fan, pointing down at 2 lovers on a bed. which was I really loved it. So that's my favorite.
Nice. Gloria.
My favorite shot. So again, multi, not as artsy as the other ladies. But there was a shot that in season 2, Rita's character falls, and Penelope sees her, and we had initially done that shot. We were seeing her come in and see Lydia on the ground, and instead I decided to have the curtains closed and have her go around, and we just stay in the wide and hear her see her mother, and that ended up being the right call for that moment. And so it's not a fancy shot, it's just a wide on a curtain, but sitcom, you tend to see everything, and so it felt like, no, this is the right choice, just being here and holding and just hearing the pain in her voice that her mother has collapsed.
Wow. Patricia.
I just shot a show called Dope Sick. It's going to open in 2 weeks in Hulu, and Rosario Dawson is in it. And the shot I want to describe is very simple. It's nothing. It's just a shot on Rosario, but I didn't bother to move the camera or to do anything with it. To just capture what she was doing, and she just gave the performance of a lifetime. She was so incredibly emotional and wonderful. And I hope you can all see her. I think Rosario is a superstar, and I want her to get the recognition as the phenomenal star that she is. And it's just a simple shot. But for me, it was all about capturing, the emotion. I'm all about that. And I just stayed there.
Beautiful. Rachel.
Yeah, so next week, Wednesday, Wu-Tang is Forever, and Hulu, Wu-Tang American Saga. I've got 2 oneers in there. The first one is in the rehearsal space. It's like the rehearsal that never happens, spoiler. The camera is moving through, and they're rapping, and they're moving, and they're talking, and it's a lot of dudes and a lot of big rap-like energy and a lot of movement. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen in a oneer, so I had many plans of like how we would cover it, but it just felt so Wu-Tang of the moment of the first time they're really going to practice all together to get ready for their very first show at the Fever in the Bronx. And it was amazing. And then I did a oneer that I choreographed that I didn't actually get to shoot in the studio, but shout out to Mario Van Peebles, who took my floor plan, my blocking. I walked through the DP because I had a death in the family, and that show was human, and actually Disney flew me for the funeral and then flew me back to the show so I could finish the episode. But to see my vision come to life, even though I wasn't there, those are my 2 favorite shots from Wu-Tang 208.
Beautiful.
Next week, Wu Wednesday.
Wu Wednesday. Favorite shot by another director that inspires you? Aurora.
Wong Kar-wai and Happy Together. It's a film that I dream about. And there's a shot in there early on in the film. If people haven't seen it, it's about 2 Chinese men lovers who are in Argentina. And it's a very toxic relationship. And the lead, he's working as a waiter at a restaurant. He's outside smoking a cigarette, and his on and off boyfriend comes out of a restaurant across the street and jumps in a car with these Argentinians, like 5 of them or 4 of them, and he's in the back seat. And there's this shot through the window of the back seat of the car on the lead character, like smoking his cigarette, just heartbroken, and seeing the love of his life drive away. And we pull back, and the camera, like the car is pulling back, and then you realize also the camera's pulling back. And then in the foreground is his lover, who is lighting his own cigarette. And he looks back at the guy, and you realize that he's just manipulated this whole situation. It is heartbreaking, and it's beautiful. No dialogue, all in this one shot. Love it. Recommend it highly.
Gloria.
I've been really obsessed lately by these like epically long shots. So Mike Flanagan does them a bunch. He does one in Hill House where he's like going around Timothy Hutton, and then all of the kids that are adults become little kids, and then he goes around again and they're adults again. And so I studied that on YouTube because they did a little thing where they showed that the actors ran out and the kids actors came in and sat down, and then after the camera pan, they got up, and the other one, and they have to be like really still. Like that one kind of blew my mind. He does that a lot. He does these like epically long shots. There was this, and then Vast of Night also has this long shot that's so cool. It was so cool that I actually reached out to Miguel, who's the DP, and I was like, I need to know how you did that shot, because it's like kind of a great old school, old timey. It feels like if you guys haven't seen Vast of Night, I thought it was really cool. It's like this Twilight Zone, and the camera is like eerily going through the town, and you know something's about to happen. And the camera kind of slides through it, and it's like the gym, and it goes on to they're playing a basketball game, and the camera's somehow in there in the basketball game while they're playing basketball. And then it goes up through the bleachers, and you're like, what? And then it goes out the window and like through, and then all and down this like, all this field, and you're like, what is happening? Because they did it so amazingly that it felt like it was one thing, and you're trying to look for the cuts, and I mean, it just kind of blew my mind. So they did a lot of segue stuff, and it was really fun to hear how he was like, oh yeah, we're using tape and rigging things, to try to get these shots. And I love hearing that kind of stuff.
I love your enthusiasm and telling it. I'm like writing it down. Patricia.
I was gonna say everything that Scorsese does, every single shot of Scorsese of any movie is inspirational, and I'm always in awe of the energy that all of his shots have. But right now, here in Gloria, it made me remember the first guys that ever did that in history, which was those guys that shot I Am Cuba. And it was that like 25-minute shot.
Oh yeah, so
I
beautiful.
went through windows and down, stairs and up, and like before any of the tools that we have now existed. So I would say that is the best shot ever in the history of cinema.
Rachel?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot, about how do we communicate just in a single still frame. So when I think about a favorite shot that does that, that can tell a whole story in one shot in a big wide establishing shot, directed by Amanda Marsalis, I think it was 2050 Queen Sugar. So we're in New Orleans. It's a boarded up block where basically tourists would pay for bus tours of post-Katrina housing row. And the bottom half, almost the half of the whole frame is a big water puddle, and you're looking at this boarded up house but upside down. And then Rutina Wesley, who plays Nova, walks into the frame and then is talking about basically what this shot says, that like everything is upside down, that Katrina turned the world upside down. And it's simple, and it's like very inexpensive. It's just camera on sticks, but it's so meaningful, and it tells you so much story just in one wide establishing shot. So I've been thinking about that, about simplicity of what are the best ways to tell a story without all the moving fancy. I love all of that. I love, I've studied a lot of cinema, but at the most basic, how can we tell such a deep and layered story just in one wide establishing shot? So that's the one for me.
I love the variety of the answers. Like that is what reinforces that we are not a monolith. Like you're listening to 4 women who are directors from different walks of life, have had different experiences, and want to show you their world from their perspective. And I think that this is what we need to hear, because it is so important for people to really understand that Latinx people are not a monolith. And even within our respective homelands, we range and vary, and that is what makes us the rich, beautiful people that we are. We only have a few minutes left, but I want to ask this question. For me, it is the most important question of them all, because I remember the first time I hit a stage, the first time I did a scene, the first time I ever, told a joke in front of a bunch of people that I didn't know. I want each of you to tell me what that feeling was the first time on a TV or a film set with you behind the camera. And I'm going to start again with Aurora and do it in alphabetical order because there's no other way. Like if there was somebody boring here, then I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go to Alicia has passion. But you guys are all very dynamic. So the way I keep the floor balanced is just doing it in alphabetical order. So Aurora, tell me about that very first time and we only have 4 minutes left. So if we could
Okay. There are 2 parts to that. First part was as I was walking towards the set, I was freaking out, completely freaking out, suffering from imposter syndrome. This is, I don't deserve this, blah, 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 all that stuff that many people of color go through. And then when we started rolling, all of that started to dissipate and I felt like I was home. That's like the best way I could describe it.
Okay. Gloria.
Same, right? I felt the same way. I felt like, oh God, I'm the showrunner and I hired myself. So I'm setting on the set and everyone's already like, oh God, here we, like I had to be I was so prepared. I had blocked all the scenes like 4 different ways. I was so prepared that I was like, I have to, and it's also the thing we carry, which is we don't have the luxury of being mediocre because we know that we're opening the door for the people behind us and we don't want them to have the excuse of we tried, but it didn't go well. Right. Like, so I had all of that imposter syndrome as well. And then actually I walked onto set and my first shot as a director, I was directing a scene with a baby in it and it was supposed to be a pretty new baby. And I had like a 2-year-old twin walk on set, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta fire babies. That's the first thing I have to do is fire these babies because I need an actual baby." They got new babies for me, and that was my first day on set.
That's hilarious.
Patricia.
Very quickly.
But they gave us they gave us a few more minutes. So please answer your question.
I think, it's the same thing. The first time like the DP looked at me and said, so what are we doing next or something? What are we doing now? And the entire crew looks at me. I am freaking out. I am dying because I don't know what to say. But, I want to say something quickly, Ada, because you said something that is very important to me, which is that we all need to stick together. I think this is just an opportunity for me to say that we all of us Latinos from different countries of Latin America, South America, Central America, we need to stick together because we are stronger together. I want to say that all women need to stick together. All people of color need to stick together. So as we move forward in this big fight that is coming to us, because there is a big backlash from the white men in power, that we all need to stick together. Just wanted to say that before I go today, in case I don't have the opportunity.
I received that. I appreciate that. Rachel.
Yeah, I also was feeling that imposter syndrome. I was kind of like trying to dust off my shoulders because it had been a long time. I had really resigned that my life was about helping lift young filmmakers and new voices. And I had given up on my own dreams a long time before. So, and the crazy thing is I know exactly what I was thinking and feeling in that moment. It was June 12th, 2018. I get a DM from Ava that says, how are you? I hear you're doing all caps really well. How do you feel? And I responded, I feel so good. I feel like I'm finally home again. So like Aurora, being on set feels like being at home. So it's crazy. 9:33 a.m. That's how I responded my very first day of shooting Queen Sugar.
Wow, that is beautiful. I want to thank each and every one of you, not just for being here today, but for showing up in a business that constantly tries to erase us, tried to make, that is set up for us to simply not be here, not just as people of color, but as women, as queer people, and as we continue this fight, And it is a fight for us. It is representation for us is a fight. You do it so graciously, and you do it so effortlessly, and you do it creatively, and you do it well. And you will pave the way for those that come behind us. And I want to encourage those of you who are watching, who are directors, and who are people who are aspiring creatives. The way you get to sit in that chair is by supporting these people and for them to be successful so that it can create a way for you. I want to thank you all, Aurora, Rachel, Patricia, Gloria, as our abuelas would call us, Aitita. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month is not just half of September and October. It's every single day like it was in La Casa de Abuela. Remember to continue to support each other, support the people who look like you, sound like you. And I was just humbled to be in this conversation. I'm going to go watch some of these movies. And I am going to toss it back to the Alliance of Women Directors.
That was so beautiful. Thank
Bye.
you all so much.
Adiós,
Muchísimas
Gloria.
gracias a todas. De verdad, esta conversación fue fenomenal. I was enraptured the entire time. I don't know if you've been seeing the comments in the comment section. People have been hearing and feeling your words and being so inspired by each and every one of you. Thank you for the fight that you do every day for all of us. Please know that we are with you, cheering you on. The work you do is so important. We are always, always looking to you for inspiration and here to support you as you go forward. Please watch everyone's shows that are coming up.
Yes.
Sick, With Love, the amazing shows that Rachel, Wu-Tang Wednesdays, Blind Spotting, and Mr. Corman. Please support each other's work. And don't forget about Ida's special coming up on HBO. Thank you all. Have a lovely, lovely, lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Como dicen los cubanos, nos fuimos.
Nos fuimos.
Fuimos.